Swami Vivekananda. Good morning to one and all present here. It gives me immense pleasure to extend to you a very warm welcome on behalf of SRM Institutes of College in Science and Technology, College of Science and Humanities, Department of Business Administration and Entrepreneurship Cell. Together has clubbed all of us for the International Conclave on Ideas, Innovation and Incubation. Encouragement, enthusiasm, excellency is one of the major aspects of our institution. With an object of encouraging the spirit of ideas and innovation, I'm Prasanna, feeling proud to host the conclave. This conclave is a forum for aspiring entrepreneurs to understand the metamorphosis of ideation, validation, and incubation in all its detail. It also brings together the proven experience of professionals and the budding aspirants for an exchange of thought. This conclave would bring out a distinction between an idea and innovation. It would also focus on the critical path in the startup journey from the time an idea is convinced till it's reached the incubation stage. It would also underline the role of education institution in encouraging and nurturing startup talent, including the possibility of seed funding. It's a mark of an undying tradition to invoke the Almighty at the beginning of an important event with Namatai Vaidyanathan. A great teacher plants the seeds of greatness in the minds of future generations by Debashish Mrida. Now, I invite respected Dean Sir, Dr. K.R. Anantha to felicitate the gathering.
Thank you, Madam. Yeah, work well begun is half done. This is particularly the truth of this international conclave, which has been perfectly timed to kickstart the new year 2022. I wish all of them a very happy new year. The mushrooming activity in the startup space has not only gathered momentum, but also picked up speed over the last few years. In spite of constraints caused by the pandemic, the Department of Business Administration, along with our entrepreneur cell, had come up with an international conclave on ideas, innovation, and incubation. I take immense pleasure in welcoming our beloved director, Mr. J. Chandrakumar, IAS retired, our anchor support, Deputy Director, Dr. S. Ramachandran, the moderator of the event, Mr. Dorai Totla, Founder, CTO, Technology Strategies, USA, and panel experts from the various esteemed concerned who have spread their valuable time to participate in this event and share their experiential thoughts with the participants. My hearty welcome to the participants from the various institutions across the countries. While ideas are easy, implementation of the same poses the real challenge. I am sure that our panelists will explain this aspect during the session for the benefit of aspiring youngsters. With this, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your warm welcome. Now, I would like to request all the dignitaries to come forward for lighting the lamp. Mr. J. Chandrakumar, IAS, Director Administration, SRM Group, Chennai.
Yes.
Dr. S. Ramachandran, Deputy Director, SRM Group, Chennai. Dr. K.R. Anantha, Dean, CSH, SRM Institute. Dr. N. Mariani, HOD, Department of Business Administration. Mr. Dorai Todla, Moderator. Dr. A. Balachandran, Senior General Manager, PIT TBI. Ms. Vijay Lakshmi Rao, Startup Mentor, Business Advisor, Ahmedabad. Mr. Karthik Vaidyanathan, Founder, Let's Pay to Learn, IIMB. Mr. Lena Segar, Founder CEO, Yarland Robotics. Dr. R. Bharati, E-Nexus, Convener. Thank you, one and all. The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one who gets the people to do the greatest things. By Ronald Reagan. Now, may I invite our respected Director of Administration, Mr. Chandrakumar IAS sir, to deliver the presidential address.
Good morning, one and all. It's my pleasure for the invitation extended to me on this international conclave on ideas, innovation, and incubation. I understand that this conference has been organized by the Department of Business Administration, headed by Dr. N. Mariana, supported by the Dean, Dr. Anantha. I first of all congratulate and extend my good wishes to both of them for the well-organized program, and the topic chosen by them is a demanding one for the situation on before us. I also extend my greetings to the panel members, Dr. A. Balachandran, Senior General Manager, VIT TBI, Ms. Vijayalakshmi Rao, Startup Mentor and Business Advisor, IIM Ahmedabad, and Mr. Karthik Vaidyanathan, Founder, Let Us Play to Learn, IIMB, and Mr. Lena Segar, Founder, CEO, Yogan Robotics, of course, to the moderator of the conclave, Mr. Dorai Todla. First of all, I would like to tell the audience and also the panel members that it is going to be a wonderful discussion in this scenario. The topic chosen is such a nice one, which attracts all the business entrepreneurs to interact and put forth their ideas in this situation. See, in this pandemic situation, we have witnessed the 2020 year as a very bad year in respect of the economy and in respect of the GDP. This year, I have come across an article like the Indian economy is picking up well in 2021. The economic recovery takes its deeper roots as GDP grows to 8.4% in the second quarter. And also, there is a huge allotment of funds from the government of India, like 95,000 crores have been allotted. It's a kind of a devolution of tax. The devolution of tax by the union government to the states is happening every quarter, every month also. But normally it will be around 45,000 crore. And this November 2021, they have devolved about 95,000 crore to the states. So all this fund is going to be utilized by the state government and all for the business activities only. So those who are aware of this allotment of huge sum in this 2021 year end, they can make use of this opportunity and create the ideas and the strategies, how to develop their business, how to make use of this fund for their improvement, for their business strategies. So this is one particular area where I can clearly tell the entrepreneurs that this fund can be utilized. Similarly, I would also have come across in some of the exports, like exports in total have up by 35.16%. Imports also have happened 57%. The trade deficit is only $19.73 billion. So this is the statistics which I have come across recently. And this shows that in spite of the imports, we are also making use of the imported materials and manufacturing the goods which are being exported. So the exporters in the arena of the business can make use of this platform for interacting with them, interacting the strategies they can devise, and interacting the ideas and innovation also they can formulate by this conclave, in this conclave. Similarly, even the agricultural produce, processed food products also have recorded 15% rise in exports. So the exports also have included the agricultural sector. In spite of the farm loss in the last year, in spite of the agitation by the farmers in the last 1 year, the exports in agriculture sector have also improved. India now have signed, IDB signed $300 million loan to improve primary healthcare in India. In primary healthcare, also the government of India have allocated a fund of about $300 billion. So that shows that the healthcare is also improving in the world economic scenario. We all know about one Dr. Arvind Panagraya, who was instrumental for the demonetization and several economic policies. He has written a book. I have gone through the book somewhere in 2009-10, and whatever said in that book has been implemented by is being implemented by the government of India, including the demonetization. Demonetization was already hinted by Dr. Arvind Panagraya. People in the business administration must be knowing about him. If anyone doesn't know about him, please get to know by way of buying his book. He has written a book in 2009 regarding India, how the India will be in the next 10 years. So that shows the economy of India in relation to the economy of the world. So this could be the ideas and innovations, whatever he has suggested in his book can be made use of by the forum. So the panel members may take up these few points which I had narrated, that is the world economy, the Indian economy, the picking up of the GDP growth, picking up of exports, and also manufacturing activity in India by utilizing the imported materials. All these things can be discussed in the panel members and in course of the seminar. So I once again welcome all the panel members, and I also congratulate Dr. Ananthapadmanabhan and Mari Anand for the nice program organized by them today. I invite each and every one of the participants to put forth their ideas, which will be useful, discussed, deliberated, and will be useful for the entrepreneurs. I wish them a grand success. I wish the function a grand success. Wish you all a good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking address. A successful person finds a right place for himself, but a successful leader finds a right place for others, by John C. Maxwell. Now, may I invite our Deputy Director of SRM Group, Dr. S. Ramachandran, sir, for a special address.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for this wonderful conference. I'm really happy that this topic has been taken at the right moment. Happy New Year to one and all, and happy morning to you also. Ideas, innovation, and incubation. The 3 I's, which we have been always talking about, and SRM institution has been revolutionizing in this particular field for the past few decades. And it's known in India and abroad for grooming entrepreneurs. Today, our own alumni are successful entrepreneurs, not only in India, but abroad. That stands testimony to holding this particular international conclave on India's innovation and incubation. As rightly pointed out by my colleague, Director Administration, a lot of avenues which are coming up. And what I would like to say is technology, if it is being used in the right manner by the business administration students, that can lead to reap benefits quickly and in a proper fashion. So all the very best, and I'm very eagerly waiting to hear the panelists giving discussions and topics that would help our students to successfully take up entrepreneurship. All the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving your valuable insights. Now, I invite Dr. N. Marianand, sir, Head of Department of Business Administration, to enlighten us about the event.
Thank you, Prasanna. Hope I'm audible to all. A very good morning and a warm welcome to all the dignitaries and the participants. And thank you for the hearty wishes from the dignitaries once again. The Department of Business Administration in SRMIST, College of Science and Humanities, Vadapalani campus, is most popularly known for student-centric activities, initiatives, and experimental learning drives. When a few students express their desire to explore some business ideas, the department, at behalf of the E-Nexus cell, started the process of loud thinking. This international conclave is a culmination of a bunch of students bitten by the entrepreneurial bug and the sincere efforts of the faculty team of Business Administration and ED Ideas, innovation, and incubation are the 3 pillars on which the activities of private enterprises are built with an eye on consumer-centric business model. It is all about creations, coordination, and delivery of values. The participants belong to various institutions from Saudi Arabia, Oman, Sri Lanka, Singapore, and Australia are adding their values to its vision. And we have also got few EDSL coordinators and conveners in and around Chennai and across the country. This international conclave seeks to provide a forum for aspiring entrepreneurs to understand the metamorphosis of ideations, validations, and incubation in all its detail. It also brings together the proven experience of professional and the budding aspirants for an exchange of thought. The audience for this event is a mix of various college students and the entrepreneurs who are in different stages of their startup journey. It includes some startups in the nascent stage of their new adventure. This conclave would bring out a distinction between an idea and innovation. It would also focus on the critical path in the startup journey from the time an idea is convinced till it reaches the incubation stage. It would also underline the role of educational institutions in encouraging and nurturing the startup talent, including the possibility of seed funding. I'm much privileged in inviting you all the dignitaries and the participants once again for this international conclave on ideas, innovation, and incubation. And this wouldn't be possible without the support of the dean and the management and my dear core team. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Ms. Amudanella, Madam, Assistant Professor and member of E-Nexus Cell, to introduce the moderator and the panelists.
Yes, thank you, Prasanna. So, I'm feeling very much honored to introduce all the panelists today. So first is Dr. A. Balachandran, who is Senior General Manager at VIT. He is the Vice President of Indian STEPS and Business Incubators Association from 1st April 2018 and was a governing body member of ISBA from 2009 to 2014. He has around 30 years of techno-commercial experience and is in charge of VIT TBI from its inception in the year 2003. He mentored and assisted a number of startups and many innovators during the last 17 years. He has been coordinating a number of innovation and entrepreneurship programs with the support of various departments of Government of India. He coordinated a youth entrepreneurship skill development initiative project supported by UNIDO for building entrepreneurship and incubation capacity building, targeting 4 West African countries during 2012. He is a certified mentor in the National Entrepreneurship Network, certified info development business incubation trainer, and a certified enterprise development and investment promotion trainer under a UNIDO CII-DST program. He is passionate about technology startups, grooming students, and assisting innovators. Next in the line is Ms. Vijayalakshmi Rao, advisor and founder, member of a voluntary forum empowering women in EWIT, associated with ANEW, an NGO that trains and finds placement for underprivileged women, chartered member of TIE Chennai. Earlier, she was the director and COO of Scope E-Knowledge Center Private Limited, part of the entrepreneurial team that builds Scope into a global knowledge process outsourcing organization. She has been and is associated as a mentor for entrepreneurs with ISP Hyderabad, IIT Madras, TIE Chennai, Stanford Seed Park, and Kiritsu Forum. She has extensive experience in industry, consulting, and entrepreneurship. She is deeply committed to women's education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship, and is currently providing mentoring and business advisory services to help startups scale their business. The next in the line is Mr. Karthik Vaidyanathan. Karthik Vaidyanathan is the founder of Let's Play to Learn, an initiative that enables joyful learning through the power of play for corporates and educational institutions. The play-based solution offerings span across industry segments and domains and across multiple levels of the organization. He also conducts workshops for corporates and educational institutions on tools and techniques for gamified interactive learning. He has published 2 research papers on play or game-based learning for NTSC in December 2018 and in Future of Learning Conference in 2019, and was invited to present at the Malaysian Gaming Conference in September 2019. He graduated from IIT Madras in 1996 and completed his MBA in IIM Bangalore in 2009. He has been teaching a course at IIT Madras called Let Us Play to Learn to help students build games for engineering subjects. He has authored a book, Power of Play in Audience Engagement. And next person is Mr. Lena Shekhar. Lena Shekhar, the founder and CEO of Yagant Robotics, is an aspiring entrepreneur whose expertise lies in robotics. He started robotics at his alma mater, which is Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science, and graduated in BTech Mechatronics. His passion and drive to take robotics and technology has led to several achievements in various competitions around India and internationally. Core member in developing the Civili robot led by Professor D. Dinakaran and the Center for Automation and Robotics, HITS. The Civili robot is an assistive robot built and designed with an interactive monitor to help doctors aid and assist isolated So this Civili robot is an assistive robot built and designed with an interactive monitor to help doctors aid and assist isolated patients with counseling, tablets, food, and other necessities, thereby minimizing the physical contact between each other during this COVID-19 pandemic that took over the world in 2020. Ranked top 5 in the FMB World Championship for RoboWar held in Shanghai, China in 2018, second place in International RoboWar held in IIT Bombay, India 2018, one among 2 teams to get qualified from India for Ultimate Robot Fighting in Indonesia 2018, participated in the FMB World Championships for Lightweight RoboWar in Sanya, China in 2017. So, followed by our moderator, Mr. Durai Todla, who is the founder of Technology Strategies LLC USA. He helps students and startups build product skills. He co-founded 4 software companies, out of which 2 are in India and 2 in USA. His current interests include text analytics, chatbots, and applied artificial intelligence, tracks technology trends, future of learning, and the future of work. He conducts seminars and workshops on AI and its impact on the future of work. So I feel very happy and very much honored to welcome all of you to the session, and I would like to hand over the session to our moderator, Mr. Durai Todla. Over to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's really, I mean, I'm surprised to see about 257 participants. And when I was approached to, moderate a panel for this conclave, I had no idea how big it is going to be, how many people, but Bharati kept telling me that, oh, we're going to get international students. We know, there's a lot of interest in this topic. So we assembled one of the finest collection of experts. And my role is to just make sure that you get the best knowledge from them as students. So we're going to structure it in a slightly different way. I have a few seeding questions because I'm going to assume that not everybody knows what is an idea, what is incubation, what is innovation and stuff like that. So we're going to start with something fairly straightforward. Ask a very few questions, but even before that, I want a little bit more exploration of each one of these panelists as to why we got this collection of experts. And I'll pitch in a little bit and then mention this, and then I would like the panelists to expand on that. I've been working with a couple of institutions for over a decade, bootstrapping innovation. There's one called KCG College. Another one is where Lena went to school, Hindustan University. And the way it happened was actually through TIE. TIE sent me to give a talk there, and I went and gave a talk to a bunch of students from 30 different colleges. And then some of the colleges invited me back, and I went to KCG to give this talk. And the director called me and said, what can we do further for the students? And that's how the ICEL started in KCG College. That was almost 2009, May, I think, 6th, we inaugurated that. I'll not dwell too much on that particular project, but over a 10-year period of time, the institution produced about 130 startups. Not during that period itself, but students studied, participated in innovation programs, participated in entrepreneurship programs. We are working with the NE and National Entrepreneurship Network at the time, from Vadapalani Foundation. And not all of them left their college and became an entrepreneur. I mean, that's a little too much to expect, because lots of families fund their kids to go and earn some money, make themselves self-sufficient or support the family. But over a period of next 10 years, we saw all these products and startups come up. And I was amazed by that number of 130. And so now I think it's 10 years later, or almost 12 years later, and I think there are a lot more things that encourage students to do startups. And Dr. Bala will talk a lot about some of those kinds of things. The success of any startup, any idea to innovation, there are various stages which we'll talk about. Every one of them require mentors, and very different kind of mentors. One of the kinds of mentors that it requires is, let me start the video a little bit. One of the types of mentors that you require is people who can take ideas. The students have lots and lots of ideas. Any ideation competition we do, we find tons of students coming up with lots of ideas. And I think in the beginning, I think Dr. Ananda Padmanabhan mentioned something like ideas are easy. Yes, they are easy, but great ideas are very, very difficult. So to get a good idea, you need to have about thousands of ideas. And then to get a great idea, you need to get thousands of good ideas. And they all have to be implemented and shown to the people. And when I talk about a great idea, I don't necessarily mean in terms of making money or, like in just being wild successes. The ones that have the largest impact on people, ideas like Kiva.org, which funds, which takes money and then funds, poor people, mostly housewives, to give them a chance to run a business, start and run a business. So there are lots of ideas. And I normally work with engineering colleges. I also started working with arts and science colleges. And now more than ever, the arts and science colleges have phenomenal opportunities. In the entire new game, if you heard about the term metaverse, you'll notice that it's all about content. The content can be in different forms. It can be text, it can be voice, it can be video, it can be AR, it can be VR. I mean, you see the entirely new experiences that you have not seen in the past come up. And games are going to become part of education, and Karthik will talk about it. So essentially, when we looked at the panel, we said, hey, what can we do to first inspire the students? So one way to do this is to bring in young entrepreneurs who recently became entrepreneurs and who started their own companies, and what are the odds they had to fight against. I know Leila for about more than 3 years now, and I know that as soon as he started his company, COVID hit, right? And that is something that is, nobody expected this world, the impact of COVID. And on his job, his initial idea of the startup was to make robotics and teach robotics in various colleges and schools. And there, biggest surprise Corona. And I'm very curious to hear how he managed to survive, stay afloat, even get funding and get a lot of recognition. Karthik attacks the problem from a very, very different point of view. he says learning must be like play. It must be like fun. For several centuries, we've been just in a classroom absorbing. 50 years ago, when I was studying engineering, I was sitting in a class, listening to lectures, taking down notes, and I think that has not changed at all now. And what are new ways in which people can learn, which will engage them more? Why do people play more video games than read books? Why do they listen to podcasts or watch YouTube videos more than pay attention to classes? So there are different styles of learning, and I'm looking forward to have Karthik tell us, you know, what is his experience when he goes and talks to students. What is it get? And that is one. And then, once you come up with these ideas, how do you take them to the next thing? What exactly is innovation? And we'll talk a little bit about that. And all of us will pitch in and mention various things. And then once you get this idea, how can you take it forward? And your director mentioned a lot of funding availability kind of thing. How easy or how difficult it to fund? Because we are all part of different incubators. I know some in IIT where students are given a certain amount of money. VAT has been doing, I think, in the past few years. How do you qualify the student? How do you recognize a good idea before it actually, when it is still an idea? How do you help students, shift various ideas and then pick the ones that have a better chance of serving people or serving the businesses? And that is something that we talk about. Bala said has a phenomenal experience in doing this. This is what he does day out most of the time. In addition to helping the all the incubators grow their businesses, part of many forums. And Viji, I met her when she was still running this company, and she was in charge of learning and development. And then, of course, the scope, I knew the other founder whom I met through a customer of mine in the US, Mr. Chandu Nair. And there is a third partner, Mr. Sivadas, and all three of them built and grew an enormous organization. They sold it, and then they're all doing work helping startups. And the most interesting thing is that many of that particular organization they built had lots of women and lots of scientists, and they were doing abstractions of scientific papers and things like that. So it's a very different approach to building products than the ones that I'm used to. Like, we have so much of knowledge, and India is one of the probably the leading nations in knowledge processing organizations, and there are a lot of them. And what is the experience in running it? And Vijay is very involved in helping students. Goes to several colleges and gives talks and gets involved in a lot of as you mentioned, as you heard in the introduction, part of a lot of these angel networks and funding agencies and all that. So you have, this is like in the best panel I can think of that will match students and take them step by step from idea to the innovation part, which is basically implementing an idea and demonstrating it, and then trying to get it incubated in the organization, either inside SRM itself, or there is co-incubation possibilities, which Dr. Bala will talk about, and then trying to take it and then producing value and then building a business out of it. The entire gamut, the whole spectrum we'll try to cover. So I talked a lot, and I think hopefully after this it will be just me asking a few questions or like kind of leading in the discussion in a certain direction. So I want to start off by talking to maybe Lena and Karthik, one after the other. Why don't you briefly your startup stories so that students know that you were just a student, just like them a few years ago. And,
Yeah. Hi, sir. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So thank you, SRM, for inviting me, and thank you, Dorai, sir. This is a really great opportunity to interact with students. Okay. First of all, Yajan Robotics is a robotics company that manufactures education robotic kits and components. So, and also set up labs in schools and colleges. So the thing is, this is actually common. Like there are a lot of companies in India, in like every state and cities where robotics is being taught. But what we do is we manufacture every single thing, including the sensors and the microcontrollers and everything in India itself, in our own office itself. So that's what we have been doing. Right now, we are about to launch around 4 kits in the month of February. So as Dorai sir said, I started this in 2019 in my final year. Then actually Dorai sir gave me an opportunity of conducting a robotic class in Shashan Jain College, that's in T Nagar. So I started there. I started teaching there. So then I started simultaneously. I started developing my projects too. Okay. Then what happened? I was approached by an investor. Then he was interested in investing in my company. So I pitched the idea. It was just he actually is a Canadian, like Canadian settled Indian. So he actually set up a meeting with me when he visited India. So I pitched him my idea and he liked it. The moment he actually left back to Canada and moment immediately he started investing in my company. Even before we actually had a formal agreement, he started putting the money and to develop the products and all. So immediately after that, the COVID hit. So there was a 1 year gap. So what I did was, so we started concentrating more on business plan. So which was really helpful in raising funds in the future. I mean, recently from
Sorry to
startup.
interrupt.
Yeah.
Can I see your video? It turned off, it seems.
Okay. Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. Now it
Yeah.
is visible. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So we were concentrating on the business plan, which is very, very important for any startup. And also I started fine tuning my products very much. So initially when I started the startup, I had a plan. Okay. So whatever I have achieved right now, the funding I got and everything, I thought it would take at least 3 to 4 years, minimum 3 to 4 years of time. And even the products I have developed, the quality that I have given right now, I thought it would take a lot of time. But due to the investments I've got, the mentorship I've got, the opportunities I've got, and used it properly, so I have, speed up the entire process itself. So then as said, Dorai sir said, schools and colleges, everything were closed, and we weren't able to actually stream any revenue from these. Get any revenue from these mainstreams. So what I did was I actually shifted my focus. So even NASCOM actually we are incubated in NASCOM too. So they also helped us, giving us advices like you can focus on B2M companies. So we were providing R&D solutions, and also we developed few more products for other companies, and also provided 3D printing services too. So this is how we made the revenue, and for like one continuous year, simultaneously delivering a product. And also we pitched in the startup for startup seed funding by Startup India. So we were selected. We were the one of the 12 first set of startups in India to get the funding. So we got around 25 lakh rupees. That was like 3 months back. So they have given us the first tranche of funding. So 2 more tranches are there. So I'll be explaining you in detail how can you approach all these things and other programs that are available for ideas and to expand your business and everything. So later on, again, now we are in a place where another investor wants to invest in a company, almost 1.5 crore. So right now, what we are doing is we are converting our company from LLP to private limited. So it'll be like a little more easier and convenient for everything. So this is what I do. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Lena.
Yes.
Before I turn it over to Karthik, I just want to mention one thing that, whenever you listen to a speaker and when they say something, and if there are some questions, please put them in the chat for everyone. We may not immediately answer them, but we'll come to them because we have a whole bunch of questions from students already asked. But feel free because that will be very contextual, right? Like Lena said something, and about his funding, his mentoring. So if you have very, very specific questions, please keep doing that. we'll do as many as possible today, and whatever we can't do, we'll get you answers. And that is one thing we'll definitely do. So, Karthik, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Durai, and the management team of SRM for having me here. It's a great opportunity to discuss with you all. Before I tell about myself, I would always like the sessions to be interactive and self-exploratory. So let me just ask you a couple of questions, and as a part of the answers, you will yourself derive what my initiative is into. So towards doing this, I'm going to share a link in the chat window, which I would like you to all start responding to. There will be 3-4 small questions. I will share them in the screen so that you get an idea. I will start displaying them one by one, and you can start answering them. When you click on that link, you will get a window where you can start entering your inputs and thoughts. This will help get an idea for me as well as you all in terms of what this initiative is about. Let me share my screen. The first question is, what is the #1 problem with the current classroom teaching learning process? Please go to the menti.com link given in the chat window, and in your respective browsers or mobile, start typing the answers. I just need to share a window. I hope it'll be permitted. Yeah, okay. So we've started seeing some answers. We would like to have as many as possible. I'm sure all of us, please keep them coming. I'm sure all of us have experienced these very recently, or at least a couple of years back, if you're in your mid-20s, 30s. And if you are a corporate professional attending this, you can also answer in the context of your corporate L&D. The answers and the challenges are very similar. So, but it's primarily intended for classroom teaching learning process. Okay, we have started seeing some questions, some views coming up. Individual attention is probably lacking. Attention span is very limited. I'm just making some extrapolations. Not at all interactive. Okay, face-to-face interaction, that's probably a COVID thing, but hopefully that will get through. And do not answer only in the COVID context. Assume even 2 years back when we had in-person classrooms. So I'm going to call out those which are pertaining to as of 2019, where we did not have online classes. Online classes have caused their own complications, but even outside of that, okay, innovativeness, low interactivity, one-way communication, what else? Merit-based learning. I'm not able to interpret what that is, but outdated study materials. Okay, teaching style. Yes. What else do we have? Are we seeing some patterns emerging? I'm wondering. So let's wait for a couple of more responses to see whether patterns emerge. I think there are different words which convey similar meanings. Interactivity seems to be coming around the center, although the central word is monopoly and communication. We see the word cloud, in and around the word cloud, attention span, and interactivity, etc., somewhat converging. If everybody had used the same word, probably interaction probably would converge in the middle. I think lack of time is now coming at the center. Okay, I think which means that there is a lot of material to be learned and taught, but less time. Yes. Okay, fine. I think this gives a fair idea. Usually when I post this question, in fact, I post this question to every educational institution where I do a session. And the two answers that seem to come at the center invariably are around interactivity, lack of interactivity, and attention, right? These two or similar sounding words converge at the center. I think in some form, it is there, but not exactly the way it's usually seen. But thank you for your answers. I'm going to move on to the next question now. In the same window, I think you can start answering the next question, which is if you had the freedom, what is the one thing that you would do differently to address these challenges? And this is not a short answer. You can take up to 10 to 12 words and type out a sentence. If you were an educator, or if you had an influential person who can change the education system, what is the one thing that you would do to address any of these challenges? So start typing out the responses so that all of us can see. Okay, use real life examples. Fantastic. Learn through practice. I didn't understand about the canteen part, but let's come to that later. Ask the students to ask more questions and make them fantastic. Think through the problem. Personalized attention. That's a great point. Point number 4, talk with each student. Practical knowledge. Make people to learn what they are interested. Fantastic. Create generalists and not specialists. Okay. Encourage participation. Wonderful, wonderful answers coming out there. Let's wait for more. So far, we have about 13 answers. Let's see what more. Don't judge by their marks. Fantastic. Fantastic. Great answers coming there. And what else? Understand each of the students' personality and address them. Yeah. Practical and game-based learning. Okay. Choice of subjects for students. Create owners and not labors. Wow. Great. Very, very interesting answers. Free yourself from negative thoughts. Let go of relationships. Okay. Okay. I mean, I can understand the person's viewpoint, but that's also important. But practical syllabus to be more done than theory in-book learning. Yeah, great. Good point. Make the students solve the problems on their own. Okay. I think broadly, I think we are getting the patterns here. Thank you for all those answers. Wonderful. Okay, sorry if I'm taking time. Sorry, Durai. I'll just okay. So I thought I'll start addressing the group. So in fact, this is exactly the problem that my startup is trying to address. Some of these challenges and some of these solutions we are trying to bring in. Started the Let's Play to Learn initiative back in 2018, where there's a huge gap between what is needed in 21st century and what is being offered everywhere. I mean, including the top institutions of the world. We have lecture-based learning, we have outdated syllabus, there is no participation. All the challenges that you have listed are exactly there. Now, how does a game solve it? Now, I think the answers are coming up as we see on the screen. So what are the emotions that we associate with games? These are the emotions. I'm surprised that somebody has typed in anger. I don't know why, but typically some of the joyous emotions like fun, excitement, fighting spirit, winning attitude, curiosity, these are the ones that most people, yeah, I'm glad that fun is at the center now. Sense of achievement and fun are seeming to be at the center. This is exactly the value proposition that Let's Play to Learn offers. What if we could change the world of education? When I say change, it's not like a drastic change. I would say game is a catalyst and not a solution. I repeat, game is a catalyst that will enhance learning. It's not going to replace some of what your teachers teach in classes, but it will heavily accelerate the teaching learning process by bringing in attention, bringing in engagement, bringing in interactivity. And what I'm showing you is through a tool called Mentimeter. Remember how many of you are interacting with me without actually having to open up your mic and talk? And look at how many of you are actually listening to each one of your views while we are having this conversation. The group is able to have the group's viewpoints without having to actually talk. this is a classic example of an interactive tool that should be there in every classroom. Okay. So that is the value. And over the last couple of years, I've been working with educational institutions and corporates to bring back the engagement, attention that is badly needed, and a fail-safe method of learning, because we are all too achievement mark-oriented, grade-oriented, etc. How do we bring in the joy of learning back? My organization's mission is making joyful learning through play. And over to you, Dorai. If I have taken more time, I'm sorry. I wanted it to be interactive.
That's all right. I think you kind of demonstrated one level of interaction, which is very, very interesting, is that I would, in fact, come back to something later about opportunities in the learning space for students to go and build startups. Is that how can you, what are the challenges in doing it? And so I want to come back to that. And this sets the context for that. And so next, I would like to have Dr. Bala and Dr. Vijay talk about how they help students and draw from there. You can start with the evaluation of TBA, for example, Dr. Bala, and always been dealing with students, and then when they became startups, you have started helping them. There are things like you can open up, give a brief introduction about a variety of activities that a technology business incubator does, so that they can come back and ask more questions later, in like a overview kind of thing. And Vijay, when you talk about various colleges, you can see what are the problems that you normally see there, and what are the issues, because this will also help the institution build their TBI and their innovation program. So Bala, do you want to start?
Yeah. Thank you, Durai. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, thank you. And thanks to the organizers for this opportunity. And it's an interesting topic, and nice to be here with all of you. And so this is the best time to be in India for doing a startup. To give some perspectives, India has emerged as the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. So we are next to US and China, and the rate at which the number of startups are growing year on year in the last 5 years, if I have to give some numbers, 2014, it was around 5,000 startups pan-India. Today, we are talking about 115,000 startups. And so at this rate, there is a possibility of having 1 million plus startups in the next 5-6 years or so. The ecosystem has come in place. It's very, very proactive. The government, the industry, the other not-for-profit ecosystem players, and so everyone is wanting to help, everyone is wanting to support right ideas. So with this backdrop, I would also like to share that I've been in the space for the last 18 years after working in the industry for about 13 years in the manufacturing sector. So I've also seen the growth of the intent of students wanting to start. So at least in 2003, 4, 5, we have to organize number of awareness camps, even to tell students what is entrepreneurship. But now a first-year student walks into my office within a few months of his in the campus and says, I have a startup idea, or I've incorporated a company, would you like to support me in this? So there's a drastic change because thanks to internet, thanks to the power of technology, which has democratized entrepreneurship and startup activities. Even an 8th grader in school could think of doing startup. We have seen number of 8th graders, school goers doing their startups. And of course, they cannot legally incorporate a company. The parents incorporate and they do their tech. And later, once they become 18, they are in a position to start. So just to give some perspectives, a business incubator predominantly located in academic institutions in India. There are more than 500 of them. And predominantly, they work with the idea stage initiatives, a lot of evangelizing, a lot of support in terms of even ideation through hackathons, makeathons, and idea contests, coding contests, codeathons. So a lot of these evangelizing process take place. As Dory said, you require thousands of ideas even to get one good idea. And so these pipeline building activities help us to identify few sparks are the potential ones that could be groomed further. And once there is a good number of good ideas, they are also groomed further through a pre-incubation program. There are also support in terms of idea to proof of concept funding. So some of the educational institutions have set up their own corpus, either through the alumni support, the management's funding, or even through some government funding. There are plethora of such support available for anyone to even test their idea if this idea is going to work. And so the second stage, once there is a proof of concept, so enough technology validation is done, it's time to build a working prototype and a working model, demonstrate that my work is actually practical and it's going to deliver. And so there are again a number of grants. So access to funding is one of the major component of support in incubators. And today we talk about the Nidhi Prayas scheme of Department of Science and Technology, which provides up to 10 lakhs of funding. And more than 35 incubators have this program across the country, and Tamil Nadu has maximum number. I think if I recall, it's around 7 or 8 Nidhi Prayas centers. And our own case, we have supported more than 35 ideas. Even yesterday, we screened about 12 ideas and 8 of them were given sanction. And it's going to be 10 lakhs maximum per idea. So apart from access to funding, the second major advantage of academic-based incubators is access to infrastructure. Any idea that requires intensive technology development and testing requires sophisticated facilities. So the incubators have their own facilities, and apart from that, act as a single window of access to the entire campus facilities. And so most higher education campuses have plethora of R&D facility. This incubation would help the entrepreneurs and startups to have access. The third important pillar of incubation support is mentoring. Mentoring again comes in two forms. One is technology mentoring, the other one is business mentoring. And technology mentoring, again, most campuses have a good number of experts who are having deep domain knowledge, and they act as the lighthouse or a beacon for clarifying and bringing in the state of the art, and also helping students to get proper directives. And business mentoring, again, Tori mentioned about TAI, Viji is also here. There are thousands of mentors who have been there, done that, wanting to associate with campuses and support young entrepreneurs, majoritarily with no strings attached and pro bono basis. And this is again best time to connect with the mentors in the ecosystem. And the fourth pillar, I would say, from the incubation support is the access to talent. Again, tens of thousands of students are wanting to learn on the practical side, and startups want to work on their ideas, and they lack money or other resources to hire full-time people. So this acts as a hub or a network which can connect aspiring students with startups. And in our own experience, more than 700 students have done internship in the last couple of years. As we speak, more than 200 students are working with startups, and it's a two-way street. It helps students and it helps the startups to get the best of the creative talents to work. So other important aspect for a growth stage startup is the market opportunity. The success or failure of a startup is determined whether they have a market and customers want to buy their product or service. And so access to market, again, the incubators by own their network, they facilitate access for validation, getting pilot orders. There is also e-government marketplace where the startups could register for priority procurement by government agencies, and even IDEX kind of defense agencies are looking for fresh ideas. And a lot of corporates have open innovation program and constantly looking for solutions from creative minds. So this is my opening statement. The timing is very, very good. There are very good incubators who are willing to support, and it's up to you to make use of these opportunities, get connected to the right players and get support. I'll be happy to take up follow-on questions. Thanks, Durai, for this opening opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Bala. I was busy tweeting, so there's a small lag. I would also like to get this, maybe if you have some slides on these 4 pillars of incubation, share it with, SRM management so that they can get started. And
Absolutely.
they already have that, you've done this for, through, all these like APIN as well as the ISBA and all that. We've been sharing, knowledge about incubators itself. And so that will be something that will be very helpful. And Vijay, you must be wondering why I kept you last. And because you can probably guess. I'm going to let you go ahead and guess. But one of the things that I really like you to cover, or maybe a couple of things, is that you build scope and you were responsible for bringing people who had no idea about the business and to provide value to the customers. And I know that your partners were doing digital marketing, sales, and all those other kinds of things, and some amount of managing. And you're in a unique position to manage a lot of youngsters. And then you continue to do that. And you also work with incubators as well as funding agencies like Kiritsu. So maybe, you can talk about that, because I don't, this entire business of starting from scratch with just an idea and going up to running a business, the full spectrum. Maybe that is something, since you have experienced and even built and grew a business and, sold it, which is like one of the, it took an exit kind of thing. So you have the full experience doing it. And so that will be awesome if you can cover those aspects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Durai. It's indeed an honor and a pleasure that the first talk I'm giving this year is at such a prestigious university like SRM. And that too, organized by the Arts Science Department, because I've spoken at various colleges, but I think this is my first at SRM. So it's really a pleasure and an honor. And I thank the entire management team, in particular, Dr. Marianand and Professor Bharati and all the others who have put together such an interesting program. I mean, there was no way I could have said no to Durai when he asked me to be a panelist, because Durai himself has been a close friend and a very, a person who contributed hugely also to the success of Scope on the technology side. I think humbly he did not mention that, but Durai had a major role to play in our organization as well. The other reason why I thought of saying yes was this whole topic of 3 I's, idea and innovation and incubation. I think these are the 3 critical words that you students will keep hearing about once you start your entrepreneurship journey. You won't believe, when we started Scope and I went through this whole journey, which I will talk about briefly, we had no formal training. We had no knowledge sharing sessions. We did not know where to go and whom to ask. We did not have mentors. We did not go to colleges who then had these kind of entrepreneurship cells and a nexus and, somebody as young as a Prasanna introducing this whole program. No, we had none of it at all. But then we struggled. And now that's why, looking back, I strongly feel that this is the time one needs to give back and help the entire ecosystem. So thank you very much, Durai, for the invite, and it's a pleasure. I'd like to just begin by setting a little bit of the context, because I think Durai just asked me to speak about Scope. You brought back such happy memories of this whole journey that Chandu Shivdas and I wrote together. This was for about 12 years, and we got funded once, and then we got funded again, and then we exited. But it had very humble beginnings, and honestly, I would say so humble that when I first bought my first car, I did not even know whether I'd be able to pay the loan back. It was that bad. Of course, I did have family support, but then from my own salary, I did not know where our startup was headed. In those days, it was not called a startup. We were originally christened as Scope Marketing Solutions Company. We were a market research organization in the B2B space. So which means either a Rani or a Murgappa Group or TVS, we had all these marquee clients. But if any of them wanted to introduce a new product, or they wanted to find out why their sales were dipping, they wanted a market research study done. I'm sure many of you in the arts and science fields and commerce fields are familiar with this. We would go out, we would send our analysts, our researchers to go collect the data and come out with a market research report. But this business was not growing. And we just had about 20 odd people. We were headed nowhere. And there were 3 of us from IIM Ahmedabad who were, literally co-founders of this company. And we did not have enough money even to take home as decent salaries. That's when, this whole thing about idea generation started. And that was the dot-com boom. This was early 2000s. And then we said, okay, what is the biggest strength that we have? What is the skill that we have, which is going and collecting market information in the B2B space? So we had an idea. We said, look, why don't we offer this as a service to customers abroad, especially information intermediaries and publishers who are looking for data, who are looking for analysis, who are looking for insights. And that's how Scope's journey as a knowledge process outsourcing organization began. We started by looking at how do we come out with abstracts for patents, right? We had skills, we had engineers. And believe it or not, a very interesting tidbit that I must tell you is that the 3 of us were non-engineers. All 3 of us I was a science graduate, Chandu and Shivdas had a commerce background. We did not understand technology, but we understood processes. We understood what it is that the customer wanted, what it is that the pain point that the customer had, which we needed to address. And therefore, when we met the first few customers and we got into patent abstraction, we found that there were 3 things the customer was looking for, in terms of quality, in terms of timeliness, and in terms of customization, using technology to deliver a product which was way above what their current customers were doing. That was the initial start of our journey. And we got into this whole business of abstraction and indexing. We got funded once at a time when no bank was willing to give us a loan. Those days, being an entrepreneur was not sexy. People threw us out and said, you want funding for what? We advertised in Bombay in a small paper and said, we have a small company like this. Is somebody willing to fund this? And somebody came along and we got our first round of funding. We grew the company. Basically, we knew how to use technology, how to use automation, how to break down our processes, how to use humans of the right kind, essentially engineers, scientists, doctors, who were willing to do this work at 1/10 of the salaries that our customers were paying for resources abroad. That is what we did. And after we got our first round of funding, we grew, we gave a great return to the first set of funders, moved on. And that's when we realized to scale, we needed a larger strategic investor. And that's how Quattro BPO Solutions took a stake in us. We grew the business, and rest, as I say, our history, because we also moved into patent analytics and a whole lot of other information areas. And finally, in 2011, we exited. And between the 3 of us co-founders, we had a fairly clear distinction of roles. We sat together in one room, worked together as a team, and well, we did a lot of work, but as Durai knows, we had a lot of fun. That was the best part about entrepreneurship. And personally for me, I headed operations and HR. I was the CEO of the company. And the 2 things that kept me going were the fact that every morning when I came to office, I saw the faces of youngsters, of students who we would recruit from 2nd tier, 3rd tier towns and colleges where they have been brought up, learning Tamil as our first language, but training them and taking them to deliver global quality. That was one thing which kept me going. 2, the second thing that kept me going was I was a strong believer in the power of women. Having been a woman myself, gone through all kinds of work-life balance issues and bringing up children, and while I did have a supportive family, I felt that women constantly underestimate themselves. And to give this thrust to women is when I started bringing in more women, empowered them to take on higher roles, and again, deliver very well. When I moved away from school, when we exited in 2011, I therefore decided that there was 2 things that I would do. One is I would like to be part of the entrepreneurship ecosystem, give back as much as I could, to work closely with women and student entrepreneurs from whom I had learned so much. And this is my journey right now. So I'm associated with a number of forums as a mentor, and as Dr. Bala rightly mentioned, I have known him now for so many years. I work on a pro bono basis, but I pick and choose my mentees, because I know there's got to be a chemistry and I don't have too much time on my hands. But this is what I do, essentially help startups to scale their business. I'm also associated with the Angel Investing Forum. So I do, invest in a few startups where I believe I need to have a skin in the game. And well, that's again, not really for returns. It's more in terms of having the satisfaction that I'm working with a bunch of youngsters, and feeling young at the same time. So this is my journey. There are just 3 quick points I'd like to make before I hand it over back to Durai. One, please don't ever have this mindset that as an arts and science graduate, you cannot be an entrepreneur. That's completely false. There is this whole notion that only technologists, engineers can develop technology, can, become entrepreneurs. No, that's not correct. We as arts and science graduates, commerce graduates can have as many creative ideas, even in the field of technology, as engineers and technologists. It's a question of having the right idea and executing it well. Point number 1. Point number 2, I strongly believe that everybody can be an entrepreneur. The craziest of ideas can work. There are no bad ideas. You can make it work, provided you have the passion, you have the focus, and you're kind of self-motivated to make it happen. Anybody can be an entrepreneur. I'm mentoring an 8-year-old, I'm mentoring a 52-year-old. They are equally good entrepreneurs. The third thing is, there is the power of mentorship. Having been a mentor myself, and creating a little impact, whatever little I have done has given me this belief that a mentor can benefit a mentee, and a mentee can also benefit a mentor. And this is a very strong relationship. And I would recommend every startup, every founder to find the right kind of mentor from whom they can take guidance, who can be a sounding board, who can be with them till they grow their wings and fly away. All right. So with that, I'd like to hand it back to Durai.
Great, thanks, Vijay. That is quite fascinating. There's a funny story of how I came to meet Scope. I moved to Chennai, and this customer of mine in US said, "Oh, you moved to Chennai? Then you have to go and meet this organization called Scope. Do you know them?" And I said, "No, I'm going there after a long time." And then he sent me Chandu's phone number. Right. And I landed up in his office, and so that's a funny.
I know.
The 2 people from India being introduced to somebody from US,
Right.
That
Right.
Okay, so now you have a context. You know what Lena does, what Karthik does, what Dr. Bala does, and what Vijay does, and so this will open up lots of interesting possibilities. And Vijay, I really like the thing saying that I don't think that arts and science students cannot do startups, and the technology guys can do startups. The technology guys are much more visible, and because of the Silicon Valley and hardware and software and that kind of thing. But if you even think about it, like when Google started, they didn't have a business model for Google search for quite a while, and then their business model was, we're going to license the search engine for $1 million. They went to Yahoo, and Yahoo said, "No, we can't pay that much." And then they said, "Oh, what should we do now?" And then the actual money-making part of Google came from people who are non-technical, right? They came and said, "Okay, how about using advertising as a model?" Dr. Bala mentioned like 2 different types, right? Mentoring that we provide. We provide technology mentoring and business mentoring kind of thing. This business mentoring part, and I want to transfer that, that idea to innovation, saying there are 2 types of innovations: technology innovation and business innovation. Sometimes the business innovation is the one that really gives the company money, right? So just keep that in mind as we go through these conversations. And so basically, we'll start with this very simple thing: is that what is an idea? What is an innovation? What is the difference? How do students get started? It's open to the entire. Anybody can pick it up and talk. And if we can, short answers, then we can do a lot more questions. And I notice time is already 47, so we probably have another hour. Somebody can remind us, how much time do we have before the final thing starts? Is there? I hope I'll get the answer from someone. Bharti, you there? Okay, let's get started. So why don't we talk a little bit about ideas and innovation, how ideas are born, things around that, how
I'm
are
sorry, Mr. Durai Tudla. We have 1.5 hours more.
1.5 hours. Okay, cool. So I have about 5 starter questions, and once that is like common, it's all on common page, and then we can take on the students' questions. They can ask more questions too through the chats. So let's start with this concept of idea versus innovation. What is an idea? What is innovation? What is the difference? Why can't people just with ideas get money from VCs and angels and others? Why somebody like colleges to kind of support them? So I mean there are several dimensions to look at this distinction between ideas and innovation. So in fact, this is the first question I ask when I meet a student group that wants to say, I want to do a startup. So I'll pitch in at some point in time, but it's open to all of you or the panel members. Feel free to unmute and answer the question. Should I call your name? Is that better?
I don't know, Durai, do you want me to go first? I'll keep it
Yeah,
very
yeah, you can go first. Yeah,
just to get the conversation started.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, an idea is something, it's just a thought, right? It comes to your mind. It's it could even be an image, or it could be a very simple concept that you're thinking of. It could sometimes even be a vague feeling. You look at a pain point, you get some customer service that you're not happy with, and you say, well, why not? Why could it not be better? Maybe I have an idea like that. Or again, bringing it very, keeping it very simple. Let me say, okay, tonight I'm having some guests for dinner, and I'm thinking of what shall I make? Maybe I should make a cake. And this whole thing about what the cake should contain, and I can almost taste it in my mouth, and I have an image of how it will look and how I will bake it. That's an idea, but that has no great value, right? Because anybody else can say, I want to make a chocolate cake too, and that's also an idea. So an idea for me is just, you must have seen this bulb when you talk about put an idea picture. There's a little bulb out there, which is, I'm not sure, sometimes it's glowing, sometimes it's not glowing. But to make, that bulb cannot crash, right? You need to make that work. And to do that, to even light it, and for that to make the impact of providing, light in a room, you got to make it work. You got to think through that whole concept, and then follows innovation. So idea for me is just that genesis. You can't sell an idea. You can't patent it. It's something in your mind. And there could be thousands of ideas. Students, for instance, could be brimming with ideas. Right? So for me, that's what idea is, that little egg.
Great. Okay. Karthik.
Okay. As Vijay explained, to me, I look at everything as what problem can I solve? I look everything as a problem or an opportunity, right? There is a gap. There is a gap to be addressed. There is a pain point. Okay. To me, an idea is like a possibility or an approach towards reducing the pain or fixing that gap. That is the way I look at it. In addition to, of course, I'm just trying to provide a complementary input to what Vijay provided. Vijay provided is absolutely right, but I'm trying to complement it with another viewpoint.
Great. Lena, you want to talk about it? Okay. Dr. Bala.
Yeah. So idea, I would say, like it's just a spark, the state of the mind when it sparks problem, some sparks happen. And I would say it's more in the passive state. Innovation happens more in the action state when somebody acts on that idea, experiments, finds out what works, what has utility. So it's a journey from idea to creating something early, experimentation, invention, I would call. So from invention, again, not all inventions are commercially feasible or viable. And so someone has to, again, put some utility to that and then finally arrive at innovation, which is widely adopted in the marketplace to solve the problem in the first place.
Okay. All right. So you fund ideas, right? People come to you with the VAT incubator and say, sir, I have this idea. So what do you do at that point in time? What do you ask them for? Because even to implement certain ideas, depending on which field, in software, probably all you need is a computer, but in somebody has an idea for a device or like a medical device, something like that, or biotech device, they do need some funding. So in that case, what do you do? How do you validate this idea, take it to the next level?
Yeah, I would even rather narrate it with a real case study. Yesterday, 4 students visited to my office. They were from another college in Vellore, and they said they want to work on a flying taxi. So that's the idea. And the problem they spotted is the urban commute and the issues and challenges. So the first question I asked them is, okay, it's an idea. I agree that you are being mechanical engineers, you want to solve this problem. What has been your prior work? What have you done? Have you worked on some models? Have you built some drones? Have you worked on aeronautical design? Have you learned about the aerodynamics? So when I asked these questions, most of them were blank. They did not have an answer, and that put them in a spot. They also understood that idea per se is useless, and we need to something about that. And at least they were humble and having the humility to do something and come back. I'm not sure, because we meet hundreds of such people. At times it's also heartening when somebody coming with bubbling energy and wanting to change the world. But when we also put them on a practical track, stating that just mere ideas won't take you far, and you need to act on it, you need to have the skills, or you need to form a team with appropriate required skills to solve this problem, then the slap with the reality occurs. And the sooner the students, the youngsters grapple with the reality, it's better for all of us. Otherwise, they'll be thinking that they can work and solve, but the reality is different. So maybe I was little hard on the topic, but this is the reality I wanted to harp on.
So good. So having an idea is not enough. You need to have at least done some research. You don't have to necessarily build a prototype, because I can imagine a flying car prototype, very, very different. There is a drone maker here who can comment on that, but even to think through the problems, right? And at least that from two dimensions. One is the business dimension, and all the issues of running a flying taxi company could have been all right. Then we could have gotten some engineering help to make it, or the engineering issues of building a flying car, building at least the models and trying them out, and that kind of stuff would have been useful. Yeah. Vijay, you wanted to add something to it? Or?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I mean, I completely agree with the perspective that Karthik provided to, the idea. And I also like what Dr. Bala mentioned about it being a spark. I once attended a competition where the same idea was given to different teams, and they were asked to innovate based on that one idea. And each team thought of it very differently, right? So I agree that, unless an idea is thought through, you need to do the research. At that stage, you're still searching, you're not executing, right? So you need to think through that idea, maybe put it down, look at what your assumptions are, look at your hypothesis, maybe talk to a few people. But that homework, I mean, be it a flying taxi or be it, anything else, it needs to be thought through. In fact, this particular, event that I attended to, the idea was given in terms of what do we do with old clothes, right? I mean, all of us throw away our old clothes. So what do you do with it? And there was this one team which was very smart. 3 of them came together and said, look, we will do something called upcycling. And this was a term like a couple of years ago when it was not fashionable to do upcycling of garments, which is that they take used garments and then maybe they stitch something into it, or, put a different kind of a sleeve or change the collar or whatever, and then resell it. So on the same garment, you are doing something to make it more sellable. So, that team actually went on to win the prize because I think they had thought through how do you convert that idea into something that is innovative, which is perhaps at the end of the day marketable? So I think that's where, idea is at one level and you really need to take it to the next level to make it work.
Right. Karthik, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, so I think I'll probably build on what I shared earlier. What Vijay says is very relevant. I think, see, there are like tons and tons of problems around. Every day, each one of us keeps seeing problems, right? It's just that if we look at entrepreneurs, they also have the same world around them. I mean, we have difficulty literally every day, right? In every, there are challenges to be overcome. The only thing is, if we start looking at where can we start contributing, where do we find a potential where we can address that, right? Start seeing the same problem as an opportunity. I mean, I'm, for the lack of, I mean, it may sound cliched, but I think I'm going to harp on this again and again. We are here to solve problems. We are here to solve problems. Be it you're an engineer, MBA, arts, commerce, whatever be your background, right? What is that skill that you possess, and where is your passion and purpose towards solving a particular problem? That is what has been the foundation of any kind of innovation. Okay, I look at it as simple as a problem solving. Now that innovation can emerge as a startup, become a giant, that is secondary. The fundamental satisfaction arises by spotting challenges and problems, looking at them differently, and providing a solution towards them.
Yeah.
And it can
so
take.
One of the things that I tell students, whenever in all these innovation cells, is that just pick up a notebook, just allocate it, just title it "My Ideas" and don't show it to anybody. Every time you see a problem, write it down. Every time you get an idea, write it down. Don't worry about it's good or bad or terrible or somebody is already implemented. It just doesn't matter. The fact that the problem grabbed your attention and you have an idea on how to solve the problem, either one idea or multiple ideas on how to solve the problem, just write them down. Just do it religiously for about a month. Then you start flipping through that notebook and three things will happen to you. One is that all the people think that they're not creative enough, that others are creative and I don't have the creativity. And if you go and talk to them, first of all, that will fix the problem that everybody is creative. Everybody has solutions to problems. And then when you start looking at it, certain problems will keep recurring and certain ideas will keep recurring. And you start knowing that, I'm noticing this much more. And why am I noticing it much more? Because I'm kind of inclined towards, solving problems of this nature. Like, for example, the students, earlier you mentioned, in your survey, interactive survey, that attention. So take that attention as a very simple idea. Attention is a problem that students have. It's a problem for students. It's a problem for lecturers, right? If you don't have much of attention, my front row students are all going to be sleeping. I think they're going to be sleeping anyway because of the previous night's activities or whatever. Or they're just like so many classes they attended and they can't take it anymore. Whatever be the reason. How do you make the students sit up and take notice? How do you draw their attention? It is just one little problem which can solve at least part of the education problem, right? You can come up with 10 different ideas of how you solve that attention problem yourself, right? I had this problem when I was studying too. And the way I was approaching it was somewhat slightly differently than others. In many of the classes, I used to just chat with the person next, but it was not solving the problem. Started doing things like mind maps, notes, and that kind of stuff. As long as you observe and you note, you start doing some of these kinds of things. It's just one possible solution. Others would just record the talks, because what will happen is also some of these lectures go very, very fast and you miss something. You don't know what follows. After that, you lost the entire, talk, because you miss something, one or things that are very, very crucial. And so that is just a very thin slice of one small part of a problem. So pick an area that is very close to your heart, and then look at the problems, and then start coming up with solutions. This is basically what I tell most of my students. And then we have a problem. All your job is just identify problems, and we go around, we gather about 40 people, and we say, come up with one problem that you would like to solve. Talk about poverty and traffic problems and that kind of stuff. Pick one problem and tell us what part of the problem you think you can solve and how can you solve it, and that focuses them a lot more. And Vijay mentioned about given one problem, people give up multiple solutions. This is what hackathons do to some extent. Hackathons also have implementation and prototyping and all that sort of stuff. But that is essentially product thing. You come up with lots of ideas and how to do that. Lena, do you want to pitch in and say something before we move on to the next question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I wasn't able to turn on my mic previously. Yeah, regarding the idea part, I mean, before that, as you told, like you wanted students to write their ideas and keep. I usually have a notebook with me where every day I keep writing things. I just write down whatever, whenever I feel like. I still have, it's been like two years I'm having that notebook. So what I do is when I get ideas, I write it down. Then whenever I'm free, what I do is I start researching. Like if there is any companies or startups working on such idea, because there might be people who are already working. If not, I'll proceed with the idea. If they are working, I'll find what are they missing out, what are they not doing. So that's how I continue with my ideas. So that is one thing. And the idea part. So how I get my idea is, first thing is knowledge. So when you have knowledge in the field, you know everything about it, and you might feel like something needed to be upgraded in such domain, in that exact domain. That is one thing. Another thing is problem. Like as you people already said, problem. I mean, you're facing a problem in the society or any department, anything, you come up with a solution. These are the two ways I think ideas are born.
Great. Okay. All right. So let us now move to the institution's role. So let us say, you set up an innovation cell at SRM, part of the incubation and entrepreneurship training effort kind of stuff, and you want to start doing some activities that spur innovation, right? And that actually teach students these skills, like ideas, convert them, take a few of them and help them create, implement the prototypes, or think through the ideas and come up with a presentation or whatever, and then go to the next stage kind of stuff. And what typically what has been done in the institutions that you have seen, or is much more for Bala and Vijay, but others too, is that what have you seen work in this space? Is that how can institutions help students see or give the skills necessary for coming up with identifying problems, coming up with ideas? We'll talk about building prototypes later. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Bala, would you like to go in first?
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. And so again, to give some context on what the incubators do and help to students to translate their ideas into ventures, there are a couple of phases I would like to quote. So in our own experience, we demarcate into three categories. So one, the set of evangelizing activities and sensitization, awareness, and by and large, thanks to this Institutional Innovation Council and the other interventions that government have initiated, a large number of activities are taking place across campuses. Again, thanks to this COVID, now most of these are online, and even this event we see. So we get a lot of speakers, experienced people to share their thoughts and processes. But at the action stage, pre-incubation plays a major role in our own experience. And because as I see, from ideas to move into the startup journey, it takes a good amount of effort in terms of resources, time, and the bandwidth. And so the pre-incubation becomes a test bed where we could assess the team's ability to sail through the long hurdles journey. So we typically take up about 30-40 teams in a given year and provide them all basic wherewithal to test their ideas. So one of the initiatives that was started a couple of years ago was a student startup venture grants, which is typically 100,000 rupees available for students, no strings attached, failure tolerant, and they would just write a proposal, present it to their committee, and interdisciplinary teams are welcome. And so this more than 60 such grants we have given. And since the students are free to spend the money, whatever they want, of course, with the support of a mentor, faculty mentor. So they go to places, build prototypes, and even experiment with various possibilities. In our experience, at least about 70-80% of them fail in the attempt, and because these are all early stage attempts. And so, but it also helps us to channelize the good ones who can move further to the proper incubation channel. And the further support, intensive support, is offered through incubation. And to our surprise, even second, third year students are incorporating companies. So that shows their commitment, the family's commitment. We also take some informed consent from the parents, because since they are students, the stakes are very high for the family. And so majority of the parents, I don't even recall one parent saying no in the last 3-4 years. That's also the development in the ecosystem. So most parents are willing to support their wards, even taking 1 or 2 years break post their graduation. There's no compulsion for them to take up job. So these are all the positive signs for us to filter. And then we don't even hesitate to put them on the larger grants, the 10 lakh grants, which I spoke about, even the 30 lakh, 50 lakh seed funding. So then it goes on. And so what I would suggest is, if the teams are really interested, they also need to show their skin in the game through the intensive R&D efforts, the ability to try with different ideas. Even if it is failed, at least one startup I could recall, when he was in second year, the person approached us for a sandwich maker idea, he failed. Third year, he approached again for IoT, for hostel washrooms. Again, he failed. He built a good prototype, but he could not go further. And but the process, he has learned persistence. He learned how to refine the ideas. And the fourth year, it was a phenomenal product. He collaborated with Arvind Eye Hospitals. Faculty offered intensive support. To cut the story short, he has raised more than 2 crores grants and seed funding. Now more than 65 devices are sold. It's a glaucoma screening equipment. And so what I'm saying is the journey, and thanks to the institution, we are in a position to even work from the idea stage, observe them closely, and allow them to fail, and also learn from the failures. And these are all some quick perspectives. If, probably after listening to others, if required, I can add on further.
Okay. I'd just like to add from an institution perspective, the kind of best practices that I have seen. There are 3 or 4 things which most colleges today are doing. And I think this is what has been the key driver to student entrepreneurship really taking off to the levels that it has today. The first one is many colleges are introducing a course on entrepreneurship, which could be optional, but so that the kids actually learn what entrepreneurship is all about in a formal manner. Right? So even basic things like, product market fit or a business model canvas, they're taught there. So one is that. 2 is there are 3 kinds of, cells which a college can set up, and which from the student perspective is also very useful. And I see it as a continuum. The first one is an innovation cell. right? Because before entrepreneurship, this whole discussion that we're having today, for instance, idea to innovation. So you have mentors, you have faculty who are also part of that cell and say, yes, this seems innovative enough, or maybe you need to do a different kind of a storyboarding. So you have one innovation cell. Then you could also have the entrepreneurship cell, which actually takes it to the next level and says, okay, go and meet a few customers, do your customer discovery. Is this an idea which is operationally feasible, which has a market demand? Next is this entrepreneurship cell. The third is what Dr. Bala is so passionately talking about, which is the incubation cell, which offers much more than just a facility. It offers mentorship, it offers connects, and there are a lot of alumni who are willing to come back and give back. So the incubation cell can actually become the final hub of students who have moved on, and they have the liberty to fail, to fall down, make mistakes, grow, but then make it there. And finally, of course, there is this whole funding aspect, which today is a little bit of a gap. And I'm happy to say, Dorai, and I can share details with you later. I'm associated, for instance, with India's first campus fund. It is called Campus Fund. It's a structure on the basis of how we have it in UK and US, where they're trying to fund ideas essentially which students have come up with. And they're not focusing on tier 1 colleges. They're not looking at IIMs and IITs. They're looking at tier 2 colleges, tier 3 colleges from tier 2, tier 3 towns, where we have hidden gems. Those students are as good as the best can be, but they don't have any funnel through which they can, get their ideas across and get funded. So Student Fund is trying to do that. So now you have, organizations like those also coming in. So as a best practice, I would think if we do this and an incubation cell can offer what Dr. Bala is talking about, I think that college can be very, very good so far as entrepreneurship goes.
So I would like to add on to just two minutes. I'll just add on to what Dr. Bala and Vijay said. Particularly picking on that student who got that 2 crore funding with Arvind, right? A lot of times, what we'll see is the final headline, 2 crores funding. But what we should not forget to realize is the persistence of failure. The fact that that student was not successful in the first year, second year, third year, that is the biggest learning one has to focus, and that is what one needs to teach entrepreneurs. He was persistent enough to learn from what gaps were there in the proposal, what gaps were there in the model. Keep persisting. He might or might not make it big, but it is that persistence, curiosity, passion to solve problem that has actually resulted in the right connect. That is what caught the attention of that Arvind Eye Hospital faculty. So what I'm trying to say is, today we are a lot carried away by the headlines. I mean, I'm not talking about our group, but in general, right? Oh, startups are big. They're raising this amount of funds, that amount of funds. It's okay. Funding is available. Funding can be made available. But the point is, do we all have the ingredient of passion, curiosity, persistence to face failure after failure? Failure as in not a permanent failure, a lot of iterations, I would say. Can we look at failure as an iteration and a learning, continuous learning? So this is the one message that I would like to elaborate on what Dr. Bala said. And one point on what Vijay said, the innovation cell, etc. They offer an ecosystem. That ecosystem of connectivity, shared learning, mentorship. I think these two, right, is what I wanted to elaborate on. These are very, very fundamental for any particular startup. No one can do it alone. You may have the funding, but you need to have the right mentors and ecosystem to work with. Even if you have all the funding, a startup's journey is lonely, but that ecosystem makes it less painful. That's all I would say.
Okay. So I'm going to hold my last question to the end, and I'm going to take on the students' questions. But before that, I just wanted to say something which is not a question, but people can comment on it. See, I keep getting this question. Why should we do a startup? Students, I'm going to go join a company and get salary. I'm in the first year. Why should I do a startup or come up with an idea or implement it or anything like this? I'll tell you a reason, and it is rooted in learning. When I worked for about 9 years before I did my first startup, it was 1980 November. And at that time, the term startup was not there. The term entrepreneurship was not very popular or known. People are nice to me, they would say self-employed engineer. People are nasty to me, they'll say unemployed engineer. And both were true. And, we started our first company, and two of us sat down in a room and said, what do we do next? And, we had some ideas. So what I'm trying to say is that in that first two startups, first was kind of a failure in the sense that we didn't make a lot of money. We made enough money as we would have done it in a job. But in the second one, I made 15 times more salary than I did in the first 3 to 6 months kind of stuff. And so what happens when you do something that you don't do normally is that you accelerate every aspect of your life. Your learning increases. I've done sales, I've done marketing, I've come up with ideas to catch people and retain their interest. I learned to make presentations. And I used to talk only tech, and now I started talking business. I mean, the reason why I'm sharing this is not that it's anything great. This is what will happen to you. Once your idea takes hold, and you will find every way in which you can leverage that idea. And then, it has a life of its own. It's almost like giving birth to a new child kind of thing. And, and then after that, you are not in control anymore. You are like, oh, wow, I need to do this. And then, and believe me, if you are used to only working a few hours a day and then want to have fun later in the night or most of the evenings, I used to be like doing that, right? All the time, reading books and doing all kinds of things. The moment I started my company, I forgot everything, and because it is such a fascinating quest, and it taps something inside you that, even if you never build a company and run a business, just taking this idea and making it and showing it to people is such a intoxicating experience that, that is the one reason why you can go and come up with ideas, pick an idea and do the implementation. And then, of course, let things take course. If it needs money, if you can find money, and if you can build a business, you can solve lots of problems. All those are great. But each one of these things accelerates, things that, that you could never learn from textbooks. And I'm quite sure Vijay can share, what she learned in IIM was what she learned in her startup. Engineering college, I studied about 50 subjects in 5 years' time, including practicals and sort of stuff. In my first startup, I didn't use even one, right? And they just gave the foundation on how to learn fast and how to, take in a lot of information and then, build it in such a way that you can reuse it in several places. So I just wanted to mark that, and then I just want to move on to the students' questions. They are fairly simple. Some of them can be given very quick answers. Some of them may require a lot of elaboration. First question is, how does incubator promote collaboration and networking? I'm not sure what the purpose of this question is, but maybe that is something that Dr. Bala can address.
Yeah, no, I keep saying either it is networking or not working for someone in the incubation, and so that's the power of networks, and we need to be part of several networks and also contribute. Science also tells us the power of a network is determined by the weakest link. So the more we are contributing, engaging with others, so that way I think most incubators are in the network of several networks. So we keep adding value. We also derive value. For example, Durai I met 15 years ago, and in one of the Thai meetings, and this was a small room. It was in Chetpat with 20 people, and so it was fascinating to see Durai, who is a serial entrepreneur, coming and passionately spending time. So that gave a message, and through that, when Thai grew, we also took advantage of that. We continue to be a member. We met Vijay in Kiristu Forum. Rajan Srikanth is keep on helping. So I would say 160 plus such mentors we are actively engaged in any given point of time. So it's just one phone call away or one email away. people are willing to help. And so that's the power of network. And I would also urge entrepreneurs to follow the same. Either it's networking or not working for you. Yeah.
Yeah, Lena, you want to talk about your experience in networking?
Yes, sir, definitely, sir. Yeah. And networking really plays a very important role in any startup. As you know, as I already said, Durai sir, it started with Durai sir. He was my mentor. So he gave me an introduction to the Shashan Jain College where he started teaching. Then another investor approached me. That's where my journey started. Again, for the past 1 year, we haven't launched a product yet. We are launching a product of February. So in the meanwhile, in the past, I opened my office in February. Okay. In the meanwhile, in almost like 10 months, we have made revenue almost 8 to 10 lakhs only from people we know. Not we haven't entered into the market at all. It's like my CFO's husband is working in a company where is marketing at international marketing and he gave us a 3D printing order. And my friend's father is having a telecommunication industry where he wanted to develop us a product. So it's all networking, right? So that is really, really important. The connections, maintaining these connections are very important. I'm really bad at it and I've started learning all these things. Yeah. And the incubations really help you with that. And also they can get you investors. So I've been incubated in NASCOM and also in Whaltech and also Crescent, because Crescent gave us the seed funding. So they also help us in a lot, like promoting our products and also promoting us between the startups, whatever they are working on with. So networking is definitely very helpful for every single startup. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, how can I get other people behind my idea? This is like a fascinating one, because you're a loner, you get an idea, and then you just, unless you have at least one support person. So typically every company has a builder and a seller, or a marketing, sales, the business side, and the creative side. It could be technology, could be making learning videos or anything like that. You produce something, somebody produces, somebody finds the consumers for this product kind of stuff. So Kitchen, anybody who wants to jump in and talk about it?
So I can go if you can, if I'm
Yeah.
okay. You're okay. So that's a very important question. When you start off, you may have all the best ideas, best product solution that in your mind, but finally somebody has to trust and be willing to put in their first bit of small amount of money behind it. Money isn't a small client revenue, or even allow it to be tried out as a pilot in their organization or for them, right? So I'll just add on to what Lena talked about in terms of networking, and add a component to it, which is called trust. Now, trust is the foundation of the network that you build. I mean, today, we have, today the connectivity is not a problem at all. With all the social media, LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook, right? We may have thousands of friends. They call it friends or the network, right? But who's the trusted 5 or trusted 10, which we should be able to recall on the top of our mind, whom we can go to, who will just allow us to try in their organization if they can, or in their small this thing. So that's where trust plays a very important role. For me, when I started off with a person by name Santosh, who's also into gaming. We knew each other through, I used to subscribe to his toy library, and we initially brainstormed. Before I started Let's to Play to Learn, we thought we'll pilot it with a name called Gamification Republic back in 2017. So he was the person who actually went to Funds India, because he had worked for Funds India. And that was our first pitch. And I thought, okay, first pitch, let's learn from it. I don't expect it to go through. He said, okay, you send a proposal, and next day he approved it on mail. Now, it didn't get approved because of the soundness of the proposal or anything of that sort. Obviously, there was a big sense of trust between the Funds India founder and Santosh because of their prior experience. And this was an amount that the company was anyway willing to try out just as an experiment, right? I mean, it's not like huge amount of money, but it was still very important. Now, that was the more foundation for getting started rather than the solution, problem, idea, which itself will evolve. Now, what is the other beauty of this? When you start off, you don't know what is the perfect solution. So don't go with a big company, go with a trusted company. You are allowed to not just get that small amount of money, but more importantly, allowed to make errors. Your errors will be tolerated, and which is extremely crucial when you start off. Even if we had not done the best gaming solution for them, right? We would have been encouraged. In fact, we learned a lot working with that client, although it was a very small opportunity, because they were like our partners or our best friends as we ideated towards the solution. That is far, far more crucial than the revenue you earn. You need to have the trust. You need to have a little amount of small amount of revenue flowing in. You need to have a guide. It is not just your prospect or client. You also have a partner who also will course correct you in terms of what works. So that is my first journey, and I learned a lot from it. Sometimes when you go ahead and even get bigger clients, sometimes they may just even fund the budget, but they may not give the right amount of support in terms of requirements. You'll find a very ironical thing sometimes. Sometimes people will just sign off for gamification projects because it's sounding fancy without even having to without understanding in depth in terms of what it can deliver. It could just be a tick mark in their list of innovations that they do. Honestly, even though you may get money from there, you will not enjoy doing the project. It's a different kind of a dilemma. It's better to go with a person who understands the solution, who's a trusted partner, even if the revenue itself is not that high. Okay, that has been my experience. So I just thought I'll share.
No, I completely second what you are saying, Karthik. I mean, I completely relate to it because this trust is such a crucial thing. And, also going back to what Leena rightly mentioned, I mean, your first, customer, your first funder, even your first employee, all these are people with whom you've got to have a relationship of trust. And, just taking it a little further, Karthik, what you mentioned, even all the employees in Scope, we found that if we trusted our project heads to ultimately take on higher roles as we grew, they were willing to do anything for us. And we worked as a team. It was never, we versus them or anything like that. We had a shared passion. We had a shared commitment. And this whole culture actually cascaded down the organization. One of trust. And you won't believe, we had people who would come and say, Scope, we have a homely culture. And, we said, no, it is not homely. I mean, it is one built on trust and mutual respect and, friendship. And that is what I think determined our final success. I completely relate to everything that you said. Very well put.
Great. Okay. So I'm sorry for throwing it up while you're talking, but I thought these are the students' questions. So I'm going to make it slightly different this time. I'm going to let each one of you pick one of these questions that you're going to answer. Only you're going to answer. So I think we have 15 minutes, right? So maybe if you finish one round, we can pick up another round. Take your favorite questions. I'll just leave it there. Just speak up in any order. We'll go from Lena to Karthik to Vijay to Dr. Bala. So shuffling it up from here. Yeah,
I'll choose the last one. How can I quickly turn good ideas into good business?
Okay.
Yeah. So first, you've got the idea, so that's great. So first you need to develop, ideas there. So you need to find if it's really needed for people. Do people really need the product? Find a target audience and create a small prototype. Test it with the users. Give it to, like, what I do is I pitch my ideas to my mom, my sister, and ask them feedback. Does it really work? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think people will like it? This is what the first thing I do. They give me feedbacks, then I share it to my friends. Then next step will be showing them a product. First thing, every time I develop a product, first thing is I send it to my mom. How does it look? She is not much into technical, but still I send it to her because people are usually attracted by the look of the product rather than even getting into specs. So all these things. Then business plan. Yeah, after this, good business plan is really necessary. when I got into building this company, I didn't know much about business plan. And even my investor said he does not believe in a business plan much, but it's very necessary, like very much necessary. Wherever you go, they ask you a business plan with a detailed budget plan, then return of investment and everything. So they feel confident that you are very serious about what you're doing. So when you get all these things ready, then I think you'll be good at your business. Yeah.
Okay. Karthik.
Yeah. I'll probably take up a second question. How can I get other people behind my idea? Now, about 3 years back when I started and saw some initial successes, and there are periods when you actually run low on energy, when you start having self-doubts, right? One of the advices that my mentor gave me was, you have to believe in your idea. It sounds very simple, because there are times where we start losing trust just because the people with whom we are interacting, they may be asking too many questions, right? I would say the answer to that is, if we believe in our idea in an honest sense, ourselves very strongly, we can automatically inspire others to get behind our ideas. Not because people don't get inspired by ideas just because you do a lot of social media posts or marketing collaterals. That's not what. They can see the energy that we bring, and we have to be honest. Yes, even when we say we have to believe in our idea, we have to be truly honest in believing to such an extent, saying that what our idea can do and what it can't do. Both these we have to be extremely clear. We should not even have one bit of doubt. Let's say somebody gets interested in our idea, but they want certain other things, and our idea cannot address that. Okay, we should be honest enough in saying that this is what I can do at this stage. Maybe I can find out something else, but this is what I am confident that it is capable of doing, and I'm 100% convinced. So do not compromise, and develop that self-belief in your idea. And second aspect I would say is that if we truly believe in our idea, we will be willing to do things for free. I remember what Prakash Iyer, the famous leadership coach, once said. Before he became a speaker and an author, I remember, I think he said, if you want to make a speaking gig work for you, be willing to do at least 200 speeches for free before you start charging. That will test two things in you. One is, do you believe that speaking can make a difference? Secondly, are you willing to face setbacks, right? If you are willing to pass that test, then you yourself develop a lot of resilience, a belief, conviction in your own idea, and then which will automatically inspire others over a period of time. I'll stop here.
Vijay.
Okay, I think I'll go for question 7 in terms of what are the main success factors for the development of innovative startups. And by development, I'm assuming that the person who has asked actually refers to, development and growth of a successful startup. I'd just like to give an example of a startup, a student startup, which is being much talked about in the last couple of months. I don't know if any of you heard of it. There's a company called Zepto, which is into quick commerce. We have all heard of e-commerce. So there's something called quick commerce now, which is coming up, in which these two kids, they are both 19-year-old co-founders. They are dropouts from Stanford, computer science graduates, who have come back to India and said that during the pandemic, there were so many things that we needed quickly, be it a pack of Maggi noodles or some tea or some salt or something that we needed quickly and we did not have it at home. So they have come out with this concept of delivering within 10 minutes. And when they came up with this idea, everybody poo-pooed them. They said, look, there are the big baskets and the grofers of the world who have taken years to ensure that they deliver within a day. How can you deliver within 10 minutes? This was an innovative business model tweaking that they did. And the fact that these two kids had the conviction of that their idea would work, the strength of that innovation, they have put together everything, be it systems, processes, but the discipline with which, please look them up if you want. There are enough videos about how they have gone about it. It is amazing. So the first success factor for me for any startup is in terms of the strength of your innovation. How much do you believe in it? How much have you thought it through? Have you done your homework? Right? That is point number one. The second success factor is in terms of scaling, because you're talking about development and growth. Is there a large enough market? Are you operationally equipped to, address that kind of a scale? Do you believe that you have the resources, or at least can you get into collaborations, partnerships to make this whole thing grow? I've seen a lot of innovative startups grow up to a certain stage. Some of them even get the first round of funding and then fall by the wayside, simply because they're not able to get over this hump of scaling, of large scale commercialization. Sometimes it may be wise to even package it and sell it off to somebody, or give it to an investor who's willing to take it to somebody else. But this whole business of scaling is something many innovative startups don't think through. But that is something that you cannot lose sight of it right from the beginning. The third thing is in terms of entrepreneurial quality, and Karthik put it so well, because ultimately the customers come to you, your employees come to you, your customers and your other stakeholders come to you because they believe in you as a person, as an entrepreneur. In fact, there is this saying that, investors don't fund startups, they fund entrepreneurs. They need to see you. They need to see you as a person with passion, with conviction, who is self-motivated. These are the qualities of the entrepreneur that an investor finally looks for. And this again determines the success of the startup. So it's not just funding and getting customers. For me, it is the strength of your innovation. Two, in terms of, how best are you equipped to scale, and three, your qualities in the entrepreneur. These are the three factors which can make a startup, an innovative startup, succeed and grow.
Okay, Dr. Bala.
Yeah, I would pick the question how a country can be an innovation driver. So I would like to take up two countries to explain and also point out a couple of things about India, what's happening on the space. So the first one is America. All of us know this is a nation built by immigrants and people from diverse cultures, backgrounds, and inclusivity is repeatedly insisted upon on various levels. So these are all certain determining factors. But looking back at the history, war had been one of the major motivating factor for the innovations and technology. So the Second World War, where a lot of other scientists from Germany, Russia were involved in developing, and the derived use or the dual use technologies, what makes for war initially, later comes for civilian applications. And so I would suggest some of you to read the books Wired for War and Imagineers of War. So this gives lots of ideas in this space. The second fascinating country for me is Israel. I spent 10 days in 2019 before the lockdowns started. And so what I observe again, the youngsters, it's not a very, very structured approach where you finish schooling, enter college, then get into job. So after school, most of them enroll for army. And I think it's compulsory for them to spend 2 to 3 years. And a 20-year-old handling latest weapon and gadgets like toys. So it gives them different perspectives about risk taking, standing in the enemy territory for 24/7 and facing the bullets and missiles. So I'm not recommending every country should involve all their citizens in defense, but this frees up their minds. And then I also understand they spend a year after armed forces services because they have a very stressful time and they go around the world. Some of them go to Goa or Kashmir or go to Vietnam, spend a year, learn from other cultures. They survive on their own. They work, they earn, they enjoy the new environment, and then come back. I think then when they enroll for college, the professors have tough time because the kind of experience the students have in the classroom, it will be a different setting altogether. So, but India, I think we are doing great in terms of the policies, Startup India, Digital India, Make in India, a lot of proactive measures. I also mentioned in the beginning, 115,000 startups are there, and a lot of these building blocks. Every state is being ranked on innovation and startup metrics. I'm part of a committee which ranks states. So we have given our inputs recently. So these are all some interesting times. times. Atal ranking of institutes on innovation performance is another one. Even NIRF ranking plays a major role on R&D and innovation achievements of the campuses. I think a lot of things are coming together for us, but still a long way to go. I would stop here. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to end with and hand it over to the organizers with one final question, and maybe this can be just one quick answer. What can students do now? I mean, they walk away from this event, and they're like, let's say that all these talks at least gave them some thoughts. Maybe I should give it a try. What is one thing they can do on each? And let's not repeat any of the answers. So I want 4 or 5 distinct answers from each one of the panelists. I mean, one answer from each panelist. So, any order. Vijay, this time you take first.
Okay, I would say I'm very tempted to say go startup, but I'd rather say be innovative, because you can be innovative wherever you are. It could be a social enterprise. You could go join an NGO at one extreme to, wanting to join a startup or setting up on your own or going and joining a company. Think innovation, think unique, think differently.
Yeah, Karthik.
I would like to quote a line from Thomas Friedman's advice for next generation kids. He says, passion quotient plus curiosity quotient is greater than IQ. PQ plus CQ is greater than IQ. So see where your passion is and always develop curiosity. The rest you'll get the path.
Great. Dr. Bala.
I would like to steal your quote, think about thinking, which is a very, very favorite one for you. And learning to learn is also another one which I would like to leave it here.
Okay, you stole both mine. Okay, good. Makes it good coming out from somebody else, actually. Yeah, Lena.
Yeah. So be passionate. Be passionate on whatever you're doing. That's very important. And also another thing is for students, this is the time where you can, next like 3-4 years, where you can take all the risk in life. So use this opportunity, don't miss it. And definitely you'll definitely regret later that you didn't use this opportunity and you wouldn't get this back anytime. Yeah.
Great. I see. I noticed 1 more minute, so I'm going to pitch in too. Right. I think there are 3 things you can do. One is bug us with lots of questions. Send us like 100 questions, like 1,000 questions. We'll be happy to answer. And if I will get answers for every one of these questions. But it has to come through email. Huh? Don't call up and start asking questions and all that. So, number 1. Number 2, start your idea log right now. Just go for a fresh notebook. Write on top of it whatever fancy name you want. But my idea log, I can show you that I have like 10 of those notebooks, black notebooks, and I'm not kidding you. Every time, many of them are outdated ideas, but I have been doing this for about 15 years. So I preach it to everyone, is that keep an idea log. And just note down the problems, note down your ideas, and then you just look at it. Even if you never implement any of them, never innovate, never do anything else, it'll at least give you a good ego booster. That's what I found out, is that, oh, I get so many ideas, this is really cool, that kind of stuff. So that is number 2. Number 3 is that after bugging us with questions, when many are answered, go bug your institution on when the TBA can be started, when the Innovation Cell can be started, when the Entrepreneurial Cell can be started, and how can you participate in gathering groups of people and doing it? Because, I think very early we mentioned that collaboration and networking is not just like getting help from all the people. You go out and help people first, and automatically help will come to you. And such people are noticed. And I remember every one of the students in 10 years who took the initiative and then organized events and gathered people just because they are that kind of people. So these are 3 pieces. And with that, 1 minute late, 12:45, I wanted to end. Dr. Marianne, back to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. It was very interactive. We learned a lot about quick commerce, interactive sessions of unique thoughts.
etc. Will wind up formally. Just a minute. Prasanna?
Yes, sir. We have been listening to the eminent speakers deliberating in the areas of entrepreneurship since morning. All these valuable insights gave us a new perspective that one should adopt while discussing these issues. Thank you, one and all. A feedback link will be shared in the chat box. Kindly fill it, and your certificates will be sent to you through your registered mail IDs. Now, I would like to call Mr. Dr. K7, Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, to propose the vote of thanks.
Am I audible, sir? Yes, you are, sir. I should just start with, wow, what else I can say about this? Such a knowledge-packed conclave. But I have a huge responsibility to thank some prominent personalities who made this event a successful one. I take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Founder, Chancellor, SRMIST, Dr. T.R. Parivender, and I thank our respectful Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Ravi Pachamuthu, and I thank Dr. C. Muthamil Chelvan, Vice Chancellor, and also thank Dr. S. Punnaswamy, Registrar, for making our dream event come true. I wholeheartedly extend my thanks to Dr. Mr. J. Chandrakumar IAS for his extraordinary presidential address. And we are indebted to thank Dr. S. Ramachandran, Deputy Director, for motivating us and initiating us to take up this event. I take this opportunity to thank our team, Dr. K. Ananda Padmanabhan sir, for supporting us at all instants and guiding us towards excellence. We extend our heartfelt thanks to Mr. Durai Todla. You are really a moderator, sir. What a session. You took this session to a different level. And I thank Dr. A. Balachandran. Sir, I am proud to be your student. I could still feel your dynamic tempo. And we thank Mr. Vijayalakshmi Rao, such a vibrant personality. You gave us answers for critical questions. And we extend our thanks to Mr. Karthik Vaidyanathan. What a personality, sir. You're a visionary thinker. You showed us a different beginning. And we thank Lena Sekar. Our students are your fans now, sir. They want to be like you very soon. And I thank Dr. Marianand sir, head, who was highly enthusiastic in conducting this conclave, who was sleepless for several nights. I thank our staff members who played their role in successful completion of this conclave. And I thank Dr. Bharati, the convener of Entrepreneurship Cell, E-Nexus, for taking up this event and who is the main personality of initiating it. And I thank Ms. Amudanila, the member of E-Nexus, who gave a lot of help for taking over this program. I thank our students. Instead of students, I could use the future entrepreneurs and the pillars and citizens of this nation. And I thank Mr. Vivek for his everlasting technical support. And I also thank Department of Visual Communication for preparing the videos and all other technical stuffs. Thank you one and all. It was such a wonderful event.
The feedback link for the participants is shared in the chat box. Thank you one and all.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you so much, Durai Todla sir, Dr. Balachandra sir, Karthik Vaidyanathan sir, Vijay Lakshmi Rao ma'am, and Lina sir. Contribution towards us is really inspiring to our students. Definitely, we'll come up with a few more initiatives along with the expert panels, as you said, and it will be a mind blowing session to all of us. And we learned a lot, especially from all the panelists who have given unique thoughts and contribution towards this. Thank you from my side once again. We'll send a formal mail from the chairman desk to you officially, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was really, I mean, I think as panelists, we also enjoyed the whole session. So thank you so much, Dr. Vaidyanathan. And then thanks, Durai. This was a great opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I second what Vijay said.
Thank you.